Hi, I'm Karl Konrad and welcome to Australian Immigration News, proudly brought to you by Australian Immigration Law Services right here in Sydney. The big visa change announced on Thursday was that the Pandemic Event 408 visa will close to everyone in February 2024. Unfortunately, they also announced that on midnight Friday the 1st of September, the pandemic visa closed to everyone who does not already hold a pandemic visa. From the 2nd of September, the 408 pandemic visa holders will be able to apply for another 408 visa, but only until the visa is fully closed in February 2024. New applicants after the 2nd of September will receive a 6-month visa only. A visa application charge of $405 will also be introduced. Andrew Giles said in a press release, "Many people on temporary visas helped Australia during this period. We're providing an opportunity for people who hold the pandemic event visa to explore another visa option or plan to leave Australia. We are disappointed for everybody who was thinking to lodge this visa application and has now missed out." On Thursday, the Northern Territory government released their response to the cuts in sponsorship applications, but it was not what everyone expected: the immediate closure of their GSM program. On their website they said, "Unexpectedly, the Australian government has provided a significantly reduced allocation of GSM notifications for the 23 to 24 program year as compared to previous years." And then down the bottom of this release they say, "The Northern Territory government continues to advocate for an increased allocation and for migration settings that suit the needs of the territory." This is at least something compared to Victoria and Queensland, which released their information regarding the allocated sponsorship numbers with hardly a whimper. They only mentioned that they will update their websites with new eligibility criteria in the near future. Now, the Victoria Premier's Daniel Andrews' lack of any response whatsoever is very surprising, considering the loud noises he was making a few months ago about how Victoria needs more migrants.
We've got a skills crisis. We can't find enough people to play all the different roles that we need, to build the projects we need to build, to run the services we need to run. I've always been a very strong supporter of more skilled migration, and the new federal government have taken some important steps towards increasing the amount of permanent skilled migration, but I think they might need to do more again.
So I guess all the other premiers have left it to the WA Premier to carry the load of lobbying the Albanese government to change their minds.
WA's Premier and opposition leaders are calling on the Commonwealth to backflip on a decision to cut the intake of skilled workers. Builder shortages have prompted Perth to face its worst housing crisis as vacancy rates remain at below 1%.
And in discussions with other premiers, I understand that they are equally disappointed with the allocations for their states. I just think this is something which the federal government needs to look at.
Now, since South Australia is the only state that allows direct nomination applications such as the Northern Territory did, it is likely we will see them keep their doors closed to new applications for now until they sort out what they're going to do. The real question is, will they continue to process applications still on hand like the Northern Territory government is doing, or will they just say, "Sorry, your application is now closed, please apply again next year"? The Immigration Minister had to step in and explain why the dramatic cuts were deemed necessary. He finally decided to speak about this on Wednesday during a press conference. He said, "What happened last year as we emerged from the pandemic was we increased the number of offers we made to the states and territories because we knew that there was a huge demand for skills and huge competition between Australia and other countries. So we weren't sure how many people would be accepting offers at that time. We are very pleased to see a very high take-up rate. So in many states there are already quite a backlog of people in the state and territory stream. So if we were to maintain the nomination rate at that level, we would simply be creating a backlog that would delay the grant of visas for people in that stream." Unfortunately, there are some serious issues about this explanation that cannot go unchallenged. Applicants for the state-sponsored 491 and 190 visas are carefully screened by the sponsoring governments. In most cases, they are screened even before they get an invitation to be allowed to apply to the state. Then they are screened for the second time to ensure they have all the correct and up-to-date valid documents. They are checked to make sure they can reach their claim point score and in addition meet the various state requirements before they are approved as potential visa applicants. They are also carefully screened to ensure they have the intention to live and work in the sponsoring states. Some states even make applicants sign statutory declarations to that effect. In many cases, applicants who have applied to the states have already worked and lived there for a considerable period, even to become eligible. All of this requires an incredible investment of time and money from those lodging state sponsorship applications. Very, very few of these people choose not to apply after their invitations are issued. The Immigration Department would have known that releasing so many invitations to the states and territories would create a backlog of applications, enough to fill the quota even for the next financial year alone. The minister's explanation only fits the 189 visa system. These invitations are simply based on the EOI, the Expression of Interest database. People register their EOIs for free with little effort. Many of these EOIs are duplicated many times over to increase people's chances. They stay on the system for 2 years, often not updated, often just forgotten about, and some are just made up for fun. The percentage of applications based upon the 189 invitations is very poor, often well under 50%. For the minister to come out and say we were not sure how many people would respond to 491 and 190 visa invitations, I'm sorry to say is misleading to the general public. It is an insult to the state and territory governments, who are well aware of the usual percentage of people who lodge visa applications after they receive positive outcomes of state sponsorship. One should also keep in mind that these allocations of places to the states and territories by the federal government are very precious to them. Each approval means a new skilled migrant to contribute to their regional economies. It is crucial they have enough allocations each year so they can at least deliver the basic hopes they offer people when they entice them to study and work in their regions. The Western Australian government even sent a minister and support staff to the UK just for the purpose of trying to increase the interest in their region for the 491 and 190 visas. They are offering cash to lure construction workers, but now it is unlikely they'll be able to sponsor any. Many international students choose to study very expensive courses in those states on the basis of having a good chance to receive sponsorship. If the states cannot provide this, then their whole state sponsorship program becomes a lie. The states and territories cannot afford to let that happen. They need continuity. They need to be seen as reliable in what they're offering. They cannot afford to be given such small allocations of places to nominate, which makes it seem that the dream that they are selling is just a con. In my opinion, there is no chance the states and territories would have agreed to those extra nomination places if they knew in the next financial year their allocations were going to be cut by about 70%. So were the states and territories lied to or misled by the Immigration Department when those allocations were handed out? It seems that they were, judging by the WA Premier's responses. Even Tasmania, South Australia and the Northern Territory have expressed concerns and surprise at the limited places given to them. This explanation then given by the minister, and it seems carefully prepared beforehand, does not make sense. It does not reflect how the system actually operates. It is an explanation designed to keep the media happy, where the journalists really have no idea how the migration system works. Most of my viewers out there looking for state sponsorship would agree with me that a feasible explanation has not been provided. The minister's response is just a smokescreen, and he is dodging his responsibility on this debacle. Now for the update on processing times, and as usual, it's a mixture of good and bad. You will see that the 309 times have come back down to earth at least, but still stuck at an unimpressive 32 months. The 189 times are about the same at 8 months, 190 has gone up to 13 months, 491 has come down a little to 16 months, 489 remains unacceptably high at 50 months, 887 is slightly improved at 26 months, 476 remains the same at 43 months, the 300 visa comes down to 27 months, and the 820 shoots up again to 29 months. So once again, we are not seeing great improvements in processing times that we were promised. Now, other changes during the week were regarding student visas. Firstly, the closing of a loophole called the concurrent enrolment arrangements, and secondly, increasing the financial capacity necessary for visa applicants. The Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill released this press statement on Wednesday. The government has closed a loophole which allows education providers to shift international students who have been in Australia for less than 6 months from genuine study to an arrangement designed to facilitate access to work in Australia. Recent investigations have identified this misuse of concurrent enrolment as an integrity issue for the international sector. This change takes effect immediately. With regard to increases in financial capacity required to gain a student visa, from the 1st of October 2023, international students will need to show evidence of $24,505 in savings, which is a 17% increase on the current levels. The minister said this change will ensure students coming to Australia to study can afford to support themselves and will not face increased risk of exploitation due to an urgent need for employment. The minister also has in her sights what she called dodgy education providers, codenamed DEPs. She is threatening to use the ESOS Act to suspend a DEP's ability to enrol international students. She said in her press release, the government is particularly concerned about more than 200 providers that currently have a student visa refusal rates higher than 50%. So watch out, DEPs, you have raised the wrath of the minister. And by the way, don't confuse these DEPs with other DEPs, which seriously upset the Australian government 7 years ago.
Australians are just as unique, both warm and direct. When you disrespect Australian law, they will tell you firmly.
On that lighter note, it's time to go to one of our readers' comments of the week. Over 90,000 people have viewed last week's video already, and so many comments were dominated about the unfairness of the cuts in the state allocation numbers. I felt this comment from Saad Ahmed sums up the feeling of many people who have studied and worked in Australia for a long time. We are literally feeling betrayed, spent heaps of money on our degrees, English tests, skill assessments and much more, increased our points, and now we have this news. This is so wrong, leaving people hanging for no reason. Really disappointing. I hope you guys will raise this issue through your platform. Rest assured, Saad, we will continue to do exactly that. It's been a tough week for many of you, I know. First the state sponsorship shocking news, and now the 408 closure will affect many plans. I hope you all find your way through the maze ahead of you. If you feel that you need some advice, we are always here to help. Make sure you keep up to date by staying tuned in and subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Hopefully I will have some lighter news next week for you. As always, take care out there and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.